Greetings and good Friday morning, this 31st of March 2023. Coming to you again for the second time today to talk about one particular issue, and I'll try to keep it as short as I possibly can. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel of the third decade of the 21st century, although perhaps maybe that is applicable, because perhaps maybe for the first time in our lifetime as a country, albeit the third decade of the 21st century, we're experiencing something for the first time. I don't know, maybe. So here it is. Here's the gist of it. Without bearing the lead, former President Trump has been indicted by a Manhattan grand jury. Quite a few things to unpack. So I'll try to go fast and keep it brief so that I can provide the opportunity for comments, because I feel like this is one area where we could potentially have a lot of discourse. So with that in mind, my thoughts and opinions. Removing Trump from the equation, just a president. I'm all for the opportunity for the justice system to work regardless of title. The fact that congresswomen, men and women, senators, and presidents and vice presidents are not above the law. However, it brings forth another question. My limited understanding of the facts is that Trump is being indicted on charges of wrongdoing, potentially misdemeanor charges of wrongdoing, for actions that took place prior to his presidency. In which case, if we were to go after former presidents, does that mean we could only go after them for things that took place prior to their service in office or after their service in office? So like when they hold the title of president, vice president, congressman, congresswoman, senator, or whatever, they're theoretically untouchable. I don't believe that. I believe they should be absolutely touchable if they violate the law. So on one hand, I like the precedents. I like the overall blank, just description, a former president is being indicted on charges of wrongdoing. I'm all for that. I'm all for the justice system working. Where I dislike it is if this is a political attack on a potential political adversary for the sole purpose of politicking only. I disagree. One thing that I equally enjoy and dislike at the same time is when you move past the politics of it. So this DA in Manhattan, their whole campaign, their whole mantra, their whole raison d'etre, if you will, to borrow from Steven Crowder, was that they ran on a campaign of, I'm going to go after Trump. So theoretically, in Manhattan, in the state of New York, in the city of New York, there's enough people combined together choosing to live in this area that despise this man. I love it as much as I hate it, because equally and opposite, there are plenty of living former presidents, vice presidents, congressmen, women, senators that are still alive, where there's probably a large enough population of people who can elect a DA to go after them as well. That's why it's dangerous. What I love and hate about this whole thing is the fact that within the United States of America, you can potentially group together enough like-minded people. So if all of the people that live in Manhattan share the exact same political ideology, which is why this indictment was allowed to go through, I both love and hate that those circumstances are allowed. I love it in the sense that if your politics, if your thoughts, if your opinions, if your way of life is very popular in one area versus another, you are free to migrate. You will not be held prisoner. You're not, you might be bullied in some ways. You might feel bullied, but you can physically relocate to another part of the United States where you can congregate with people that think and feel more like you do. I love that. What I despise is that you might find yourself living in an area where the overwhelming population of people, because maybe there was a job opportunity. Somebody got a job in Manhattan and they're not from that area, but they oppose the major line of thinking. So I no matter how you wrap that up, I both love and hate that altogether. I both love and hate that our judicial system potentially allows for the opportunity to go after figures, regardless of their stature and title, for the purpose of pursuing law in the event that they broke the law. My concern is if people in that stature have consistently broken laws in order to maintain their status, what happens next? Because if the first domino has to get pushed over in the third decade of the 21st century, where we go after Trump due to his popularity or lack of popularity or disdain for, trust me when I tell you, there's enough people in this country that did not like Barack Obama. There's enough people in this country who do not like Joe Biden. There's enough people in this country who do not like Kamala Harris. There's enough people in this country who also probably don't like Mike Pence. And the list goes on. I mean, this will go back and forth. Whether Democrat, Republican, this will go on. This will go back and forth like a tennis match. So I think on one hand, it's a very dangerous precedent in many, many ways. Whether it is to potentially sabotage his political campaigns for another run at the presidency, whether it's to cast shadows of doubt, whether it's to potentially politically grandstand. Because let's not forget that there potentially may be a trial, in which case this thing could blow up immensely. The potential ramifications, right? If politics is a lot like chess, and this is a political move, have people thought about the other 7 moves that have to take place, where the end result may not be a checkmate for you? But whatever the case may be, I'm just trying to stimulate the conversation. So if you're not familiar with my channel, I don't give a shit about the likes, the dislikes, the notifications, the subscriptions. I'm just trying to create conversation, especially for us littler guys who are probably not going to get heard on the larger channels because of paywalls and whatnot. So with that in mind, if you leave a comment, I promise I will read, react, and respond to it, and I will perpetuate the conversation. So if you do, I appreciate it. You're awesome. Don't forget to wear red on Friday to remember everyone deployed. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time. Greetings and good Friday morning. So real quick, I'm going to forego the whole third decade of the 21st century. This is a secondary video to another video I did but never got a chance to publish. So I'm kind of double tapping it because I kind of want to get both videos out there but with greater context. So in the first video that will be accompanying this, I briefly discussed the indictment of former President Trump. What I'd like to elaborate on just a little bit more, not to be redundant or excessive, but I previously made a video where I discuss the concept of where does it end? When do we stop trying to one-up each other? When do we stop the quid pro quo, the tit for tat, so to speak, if you will. Sorry, I'm multitasking here. But you know, where does it end? And if we keep following this right, left, red, blue, you know, conservative, liberal team playing, I don't know. I mean, it's terribly sad that there are people out there that were so upset with Trump that they'll believe just about anything that's against him. But even more importantly, what I found most disturbing and where I found myself more endeared to Trump was how it became okay to dislike him. It became popular and trendy. I don't know that we've ever really had that with a president. I know presidents have been, what's the word I'm looking for? Unpopular, so to speak, but it's never been popular to be this vitriolic. I know when it came to Barack Obama, perhaps because of his appearance, he was almost untouchable. Like, you couldn't say a bad thing about him. But then when he was replaced by Orange Man, it almost became like the trendy thing to do was to, you know, disrespect him, and more importantly, disrespect his office. And I say all this because I can't help but wonder how much of this is political grandstanding, how much of this indictment is political theater and a popularity contest. And, you know, as I said in the previous video, what about quid pro quo? Because quite frankly, I mean, if we were to imagine for 1 second that all politicians are altruistic and all politicians don't break the law, to include presidents, then who would essentially sit on Capitol Hill? How many senators, how many congressmen and women, how many presidents and vice presidents? Because I think the precedent is dangerous, where if the average American breaks the law on occasion, Well, then how many laws do you think elected officials break? And where will it end? And I mean that legitimately, because this is a dangerous precedence. You know, the fact that he was so unliked, especially by the Democratic Party, that they're now trying to weaponize the legal system against him. What's to stop the Republican Party from doing the same? And who's to say that there aren't Democrats that justifiably, deservedly need to be locked up? But what does it do for the country? Because the court of public opinion is a completely different beast and a completely different animal. And I've said this I don't know how many times in different videos, but if there are people out there, if you'll allow me to put on my Alex Jones hat for a minute, if there are people out there that really do want to stoke the flames of division, what is their end game? What is their end goal? Because if it does go down the road to another civil war, I don't think the people that are stoking the flames of division are doing so because the people they're inciting are the ones they believe will win. I think they're doing it in order for the people that they want to win to have to defend themselves. And the people that will defend themselves will probably win. So, again, I'm just trying to stimulate some conversation. You may not have liked Trump, you may not have liked him as a person, as a president or whatever, but if you can push past that for a second and stop and think about the potential ramifications for a quid pro quo situation where now we go through a period of time where elected officials do little more than just weaponize the justice system. And I'm equally disturbed and equally at a loss of confidence in the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Maybe not the everyday agents working cases, but the overall entity as a whole. And apparently it's nothing new. Apparently when Hoover founded the FBI, he used it as a weapon himself. So apparently that's nothing new. But that's the gist of it. I just want to hear from anybody who does get a chance to watch this video. Please leave a comment. I don't care about the likes or the subscriptions or the notifications. I'm just trying to stimulate conversation, especially for us little people who aren't quite big enough or don't necessarily have the funds to pay to get beyond the paywall with some of these bigger entities that are having some of these same conversations. Selfishly speaking, I'm just using this as a platform for my own catharsis, and like I said, if we're just too small to carry on these conversations with these bigger names, then, you know, hey, my platform or yours, I don't care. But let's have these discussions. So please be safe out there. Enjoy your Friday. If you leave a comment, I promise I will read, react, and respond. And if you do, you're awesome. Till next time, stay safe out there.